everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 7 of TRIGUN STARGAZE, aka episode 19 of Stampede. But anyway, I am so excited to see where we're going from here. We talked about last week, Knives is back. Everybody is gathering, and the fleets in the sky are far away, but the conflict is starting right in front of us. So what else can we do but get involved? And unfortunately, Vash has been taken by Legato. Vash is aboard Knives' ship. He's seemingly out of commission. So what is Wolfwood and Millie and Meryl gonna do? Well, Wolfwood's on the ship with Vash. So what is Millie and Meryl gonna do? I don't know. But it seems like we're prepping for some chaos. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I've had some great comments from episodes 5 and 6. So thank you all so much for those comments. I've really appreciated them. It's so much fun to talk about this series with you all. Merrick's, with that in mind, Merrick 16 or 1464 for episode 5 says, this episode is definitely my favorite of Stargaze so far. Episode 5 is so good. I've heard some complaints about the fight between Wolfwood and Mid-Valley being slow with too much talking, but I really liked their discussion. I did too. I mean, I said this in episode 5, but when you watch it, when you read Trimax, there's so much blood and gore and violence. I do like that this series is taking it in a different direction. Merrick says, I might actually like this version of Mid-Valley even more than his 98 or Trimax counterparts. I agree. His fear of Knives and his feelings of being trapped came across so well. He's usually depicted relatively calm and collected, but his visible fear made him even more intimidating because of how volatile it made him. And I love that bit of him crying because we finally got a chance to see him rest. I saw someone say that he wibbled, and if that's not the cutest thing I've ever heard, he wibbled, just a little wibbling. Yeah, no, I am in full agreement. Mid-Valley in this version is like, mwah, chef's kiss. It's my favorite version of Mid-Valley. I hope we get to see him at least a little bit more before now in the end of the season. But yeah, so we're past the halfway point into episode 7. I am excited. Next week is the rule of 8, which we're still a week off. It's fine. It's okay. But I am really excited to see what happens this week in the series. So thank you so much for your comments, for your kind words. If you have not subscribed down below on YouTube, please do so. Give this video a like, give it a comment. It helps out my channel in the algorithm. And for those of you on Patreon, I want to give you all a special thanks because you all have been so amazing. So I want to give a shout out to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon because they pay to have me mention them in my videos every week. So thanks to Alex Cornejo, to Alexandra Q, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Damage3245, as well as Daniel, Devorin, Destiny Marie, Diana Williams, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, Lyndon, James, Elfreya, Lou Genesis, as well as Murphew, as well as Rast, Rose Jennison, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, Zero Anti-Zero, and as well as Nicholas, Sean, and Jason N. There's a lot of y'all. I'm super appreciative. Thank you so much for all of your support. All of my love. So yeah, we're not gonna waste any more time. I'm super excited. I'm ready to get down to brass tacks. So let's get this party started. I'm making sure that my stuff is in Japanese. It is. We are gonna start episode 7 of TRIGUN STARGAZE, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. Not even my dog trying to get me to throw a toy at the most inopportune time will keep me from witnessing the hype. I know I live by the rule of 8, y'all. I know I live by the rule of 8. You all know this if you've been on my channel before. But for TRIGUN, look, for Attack on Titan, it's the rule of 5. Attack on Titan is the rule of 5, especially in the latter seasons. In this series, it might be the rule of 7. This episode was so freaking good. This is my favorite episode of the whole season so far. My favorite. It's so good. I definitely am excited to go back through this episode with you all. Before we get started, so the episode's called The Hurt Locker, which it's what a wonderful world ties back to music in the episode prior with Mid Valley, and then obviously The Darkest Hour Before the Dawn. The Hurt Locker was a 2008 American war film. I remember The Hurt Locker winning a lot of Academy Awards at the time, but I was in college and it was not the type of movie I wanted to see, so I've not seen it, but it is pretty well known. But basically the synopsis on Wikipedia is that it follows a bomb disposal team who are targeted by insurgents and shows their psychological reactions to the stress of combat, which I think kind of goes in hand with not only Wolfwood and the Doctor's comments, but also ties into Knives and Vash, and also ties into Legato's impact on Vash. We have lots to talk about in this episode. There's so much fan service. There's so much. It's like, mwah. So good. So freaking good. I'm so excited. So yeah. Now, let's get into this film, shall we? Let's get into this episode. There are parts of it that I was very curious how it was going to tie all up together by the end of it. We're going to look at these screenshots here in 3, 2, 1. When they first showed the orphanage, I was wondering, like, how are we tying this all together? Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more in the spoiler corner about things, but we know that Nicholas had been taken away to be experimented on by the Doctor and became who he was. We also have in mind that Livio is possibly the same. So yeah, we're gonna touch base on that as we get into the spoiler corner. But I was wondering how it was gonna tie in with him being taken away. Also, there is something so heartbreaking about the fact that he's being taken away by a covert government organization that is not even a government organization. It's like Knives and his people. And the people of the orphanage are like, come back, Nicholas. We're waiting for you to return. We'll celebrate you coming back. And like throwing these confetti and things like that, knowing, we the audience knowing that he's not coming back. At least not how they would have seen him. And it's not going to be a celebration if he comes back to the orphanage because they're not going to even recognize him. We'll welcome you just like this when you return. Again, we're going to talk in the spoiler corner about that, but it's so heartbreaking. And I was wondering when it showed him, like, as the confetti was falling down and him looking at it, I was like, well, how are we going to tie this back in to the episode as the episode was going? And then by the end of it, I was like, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. So let's get past this intro because I have things we need to talk about. So I kind of like that we have this passage of time. Again, the freaking moon that's the eyeball is like Majora Mask level of creepy. If you ever played Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, that is a creepy video game that haunted me as a child. And this moon is very akin to that. It's very creepy. I don't like it at all. But yeah, so I love the idea of the red sands in the red bottom valley, and the idea that Vash the Stampede being wanted has been canceled because apparently everybody, despite this communication, knows either one, he's been taken by Knives, or two, he's the least of our problems now. Now we have to worry about, the apocalypse coming and the Ark and all of that fun stuff. But I liked this little monologue that Meryl had. This shot right here made me instantly think of Mulan, where there's like the little doll in the burnt village and they pick up the doll. I liked the idea that here, when Millie picks it up after taking the picture, the doll just completely falls apart. Like that was such a good like little visual to show the village is just the town is completely wiped out. And I liked Meryl's monologue here about giving us some ideas of what's been happening since the last episode. We find out it's been 5 months since Vash was taken by Knives. There's been a lot happening on the ship in those last 5 months, which we'll talk about. But yeah, Meryl and them are basically going from town to town and documenting the plants that have been taken to try to gather intel and information to give back to the home base to kind of piece together what all is going on. Like, what's the grand picture of what's happening? We understand that Knives is attacking different towns and settlements and taking their plants, but which place has been attacked? Where are people going? What's been happening? And so the Ark is continuing around taking all the plants. We saw at least 20 that were stolen by the time we got back to the ship here. And so I liked, now this part here with the map where it was like, there's like Sol, Secundus, the Ember Pits, nowhere. And then Millie's looking over and she goes past December, and then from December goes over through July and then covers onto Deliverance. Is that a little on the nose? Yes. Is it a lot like the manga? Yes. So I'm willing to forgive it for being so on the nose, because the manga in terms of like the town names is pretty well that as well. I do think that it is important that Octavern is where most of the people are. Did we see Octavern? No, we saw Howling Mall, Carcassus, December. We see Mission Fork, Skitterpost, the Deliverance, and then the Grand Basin. So yeah, interesting. Octavern is not even on the map that we see, so that's interesting to note. But yeah, the goal of Knives is to liberate the plants. Well, we're going to talk about that. The goal is to liberate the plants from the oppression of the humans and grant them freedom. We're going to talk about that because I think Alindira is on to how this is not going as planned. So yeah, the world. I do want to talk about this as well because this stuck out to me. The world of humans is quietly drying up. There is something to be said about how communications are so important in this episode. The idea of communication, the idea that without communication, everyone's lost. The people in the cities don't know how to communicate with one another. It sows fear, it sows aggression. People are confused, and it leads to just people making poor decisions. And then this idea of the world of humans quietly drying up. Not to get political with you all, but we do live in a day and age where we need to be aware. But throughout our history, and even now, happening right now, there are people quietly being exterminated from existence. And I think that connection in this episode is really important to point out, that the stuff Knives is doing, quietly cutting off communication and going from town to town and decimating them, is stuff happening in our own world right now. And because there's no communication of it, people don't know, and they don't realize that it's happening. And until you see the videos and you see the pictures and you see the communication, you don't know it's happening. And you're like, what? I had no idea. And so I feel when Millie and Meryl are talking about being journalists, I like the change that Stampede has made into them being journalists. At first I was like, okay, well, that's just a generalized change because they were insurance salesmen and now they're journalists. But when we get to this episode, it really hits home the importance of that change, that now they're documenting their saving, which, if they'd kept them insurance salesmen, they could have been documenting and taking things for insurance claims as well. But this adds a little bit more of a communicative aspect of it. It gives it a little bit more gravity. It gives it a little more relevance to now in our own world. So I appreciate that change in Meryl's monologue about it because it's pretty important. Now, we don't want to get too crazy up in here just yet. So Millie has to provide some levity where she's like, okay, enough of that genocide talk. Let's take a selfie. And I was like, I get that they don't want this to be too doom and gloom. But they're like, is there nothing we can do but wait for our salvation, which is the fleet? I'm glad that the home base is not doing that. I'm glad the home base was like, wait for them to show up. Hell no, we're going to take matters into our own hands. I was like, thank God, because that's terrifying. I was like, we'll talk in the spoiler corner more about it, but I'm glad the home base is doing something to gear up. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, waiting around is not the way to go. So it's June 25th. So this is 5 months later. So June to May, May to April, April to March, March to February. So January was around the time that we started Stargaze. So that's interesting to note. Yeah. And then, of course, yeah, Meryl wants to... I like Meryl's talking about their salaries. We're like, but our salaries, what are we going to do? And I'm like, girl, if Knives succeeds in his mission, salaries are going to be the least of your worries. Right? Right? Least of our worries. So, but yeah, I did like this scene with them a lot. And she's like, nobody is receiving my reports either. I feel like we're going to come back to that because she said nobody's receiving her reports, but I feel like there's going to be somebody at Octavern or somebody later on is going to say, oh, I heard what you all were saying. I feel like that's going to come back. I feel like it's going to come back. We're going to see. And also, it kind of does drive home the fact that even if nobody's listening, you should still do the good work, whether or not people are paying attention. I think that's a lesson that's being taught here that is something that's really well received in the show. So yeah, we'll keep documenting. Yeah, and then of course, let me take a selfie. It is neat to see the mechanics of, this is basically, it looks like a steampunk camera, but it has the quality of a Fujifilm camera from 2008. And then, yeah, so the bugs, we see the worms and all that. Zazzy is notably absent from this episode, which I don't blame Zazzy from being absent. Zazzy may have taken off to go take care of things down below while Knives is having all this go on. We don't know where Zazzy is, but that's fine. Then, on the Ark, meanwhile, this scene with Legato and Knives and Vash is possibly the best scene in all of Stampede and Stargaze together. I'm lumping it all together. It maybe beat out the 98 version. I'm going to put it out there. It's so good. This conversation, I was getting Doctor Who vibes. I was in love with the dialogue. I was in love. I feel like they just made the whole series to get to this point. I feel like they've made the whole series to get to this episode. And they threw Mid-Valley in there, which is good. We'll talk about Mid-Valley. But all of this. Let's go back. So, my mind is gonna be in the gutter for the near foreseeable future. So if you are not someone that is a gutter mind, I want to apologize ahead of time. But there is going to be comments I say about Legato and Vash and Knives and Wolfwood that my mind went to the gutter. It just followed down that little rabbit hole, and okay, first of all, this shot of Legato, I know it's sweat, y'all. I know it's sweat and drool, but y'all know where I'm going with it. But yes, seeing Legato like panting with drool going down and sweat going down his face as he's been working for 5 months without sleep, or like without sleep for 5 months, my dude, to keep Vash in check. You could have just put him back in the stasis tube. Couldn't you have? But oh my God. I guess once he got healed up, then they had to find some way to like keep him in check. But also, I did not know that Vash without shirt but with pants on was a new unlocked attractiveness to Vash. That's happened. That's here. I was like, come on, dingy version of him. And yeah, he's able to withstand the crushing force of Legato's power for so long. And then, of course, Knives is like, don't you feel like joining me? Who does Knives' voice? What has he also been? I know you all have told me this, but what has Knives also been? I need to go. Knives VA, Japanese for Stargaze. What has he also been? Ryuji Sato is the voice of him. Is this all? Oh! He's only Knives and has been some other character in Solo Leveling? That's it? That is it? Was he not Knives in Stampede? Was he not Knives in Stampede? Did they get a new voice actor? Did they? Oh, wow. Junya Ikeda was his voice actor in Stampede. Oh, and he only did a couple things. Wow. I didn't realize they had 2 different voice actors. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but Ryuji Sato, his voice, I really hope that if this is his breakout role playing Knives, I hope that he gets more roles in the future, because he has a really good voice for playing a villain. He has a really good antagonist voice. He has an amazing singing voice. I'm like, sir, like, Sato does such a good job playing him in this. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so I kind of like this. I like this back and forth of Knives and Vash, and Knives trying to coerce Vash into joining him to his cause. I like it because it fits Knives not wanting to, hurt his brother too much, but he wants to hurt him a little bit to get him, to torture him, to get him to join, to see his way of thinking. And I love Vash standing up to Knives saying, I've endured pain for the last 150 years. You think this is something? Also, the idea of Legato down on one knee in front of Knives, torturing his brother to appease him is just, it's doing all the things for me. I freaking love it. I love it so much. And yeah, and just, the way he contorts his body is just, it's grisly. It's so grisly. And so yeah, Knives says, our brethren have been squeezed dry and devoured. We're going to talk about the devouring here in a little bit. I loved this where we had the glass wall, like Vash is stuck in the little like prison cell of glass, and it's like the circle is split in half where it's like one it's like yin and yang, like the light side and the dark side, and of course Legato and Knives are on the dark side, but it separates them, but they're equal, like they're two sides of the same circle, two sides of the same coin. It's just the symbolism is so good in it. I freaking love it. We're gonna talk about that devouring. He's like, you wouldn't know about that. And I like that Vash snaps back and is like, actually, I have seen some dead plants, sir. So, and Vash saying here, like, I've seen these dead plants as well. And he's like, they've all gone black. I'm glad that they talked about the fatigue and brought that up. And Vash's like eyebrows going black as well over the course of this is something to bring up as well. And Knives is like, yes, it represents fatigue. They were pushed beyond their powers to the limit. And Vash is like, you know, the same's going to happen to us sooner or later. I'm glad they're bringing this up because you couldn't have not noticed that your hair is turning black. So I'm glad they've brought it up to discuss it as brothers. And he's like, what else? But what else can humans do to survive on the planet? So Vash brings up the conundrum. He's like, look, the humans need the plants to survive. And if we aren't used, we will end up dying. We can't survive without the humans tending to us. And Knives tries to counteract that and says, well, we would live much longer if we didn't have them, you know, controlling us. And Vash is like, you don't get it. We need them. We need to coexist to live. Vash has suffered from the trauma has made me hot moment, because this is the best Vash has looked arguably in the whole series. And he just looks so traumatized, but it also looks amazing. He's like, these people are being forced to survive and struggle. They're doing what we would do in their situation. So can we really compare ourselves to them? We are put in a situation where we have to push ourselves to fatigue. And then Vash bringing this up with the receipts saying, oh, we've been pushed to the point where we have to basically be used by the humans or we die of fatigue. Why is that? Because the big fall happened. Who caused that? Why, the person sitting right in front of me. So, sir, you've caused your own problems. I'm like, oh, Vash, I freaking love it. Yes, I love, and then Legato, of course, gets pissed. And like, oh, the contortion is just, ugh. It's so bad, yeah. I love that Vash is like, you gonna sit there and let your boyfriend do this? You gonna let your boyfriend do this to me? So good. And then Knives is like, okay, ease up a little bit. Damn. He's like, do you think people are really incapable of change? I loved this monologue too, where he's like, yes, he's like, people may regress. I love this, like this shot of him looking up at his brother. It's so good. And honestly, look, this is, I did not think I would need to see this show, but there's another show I'm watching on my channel where I've been very frustrated with a specific character in it. I've been so frustrated with this character, and it's been bugging me to death, and I've been giving them a hard time. And then freaking Space Jesus comes in here to give me a lecture about it, and I'm like, because he basically says, like, look, it takes time, and they can move backwards too, but they are trying to move forward. Surely they can move forward. Vash, quit giving me the talk that I need to hear concerning this character. And so he's like, Rim was like that. Like, he brings up Rim, and it takes time. And that's when Knives is like, I don't want to talk about Rim. Rim's the last person that I want to bring up. He's like, all the while our brethren are being abused, bled dry, and disposed of. It takes time, and we don't have time. He's like, and then Vash is like, well, then that's the part we need to fix. He's like, if that's what's bothering you, he's like, let's talk about that. And then, of course, Knives is like, well, nobody pays heed to the word of cattle. What should have happened was nobody pays heed to the words of cattle until the cattle stampede over them. And that's where I thought Knives was going to go. He's like, until the cattle are trampling the humans, nobody's going to listen to them. But I thought that's where he was going, but he did not choose to go that route. No. And then you can see on the side of Knives' face, you can see over on that hairline, it's starting to turn black too. Oh, it's so good. Yes. He's like, have you forgotten Tesla? So then we find out the Knives that Knives are using are powered in part by bits and pieces of Tesla, which that's crazy. That's crazy that his weapon is made from Tesla. Like, we're going to talk about it more when we get to Alindira. But yeah, that shot there with the eyeball, that's the money shot. That's crazy. And Vash is like, what the fudge? Vash is like, I thought we talked about not killing the plants. What are we doing? Because yeah, there's the eyeball. Which makes sense now why the eyeball was shown at the beginning of the series. Why we went back to Tesla. I like Legato's like, what the hell? How are you doing this? And he's like, oh, I like that. Oh, Vash crashing that. Oh, why was Vash so good looking and good in this? Yeah, that shot there too. That shot there when Knives is like, oh shit. Because Knives is strong. Knives is strong. Knives is a threat. But you cannot count Vash out. If Vash gets mad enough, you don't want to mess with him. And Vash just being like, oh, I didn't forget. Like, apparently you did because you put her on your hand. That shot is so good. I freaking love that shot. Yeah. And then he's like, I have not forgotten, not for a moment. That was the day that drove us all mad. Wow. And you can just see how black his eyebrows have become. So yeah, and with the tears in his eyes, I just noticed that. The tears in his eyes, he's like, we all went crazy finding out what happened to Tesla. And so everybody's mad here. It feels like Alice in Wonderland. We're all mad here. The Doctor, Livia, Wolfwood, Vash, Knives, Legato, everybody on this arc is crazy. It's like The Shining. Oh, wow. That shot there, that's the thing, though, where it cuts Knives' face in half. That's so crazy. That's the thing. The true nature of violence can only be named by those who have felt it. So yeah, Vash is like, look, he's like, people who have suffered are the ones that know how bad it is. They know how suffering is because they felt it. And so he's like, only those who've experienced pain can speak the words to stop conflict. I freaking love that line. I love that Vash is like, look, you have to experience pain to know how to stop it. And he's like, if you haven't experienced something, you don't know how to react to it. And he's like, those people have experienced pain. He's like, we know. He's like, you and I have experienced pain, so we know how to stop it. We know what we need to not do to carry it any further. And Knives does not take that the way Vash wanted him to at all. He doesn't take that at all the way he wanted him to. He's like, do you want to make that just another part of the cycle of hatred and strife? He's like, are you going to hurt these people and just make it cyclical? Or do you want to make it a foundation to build your conviction upon? Like, Vash is like, look, I've been complicit in the violence against humans and plants. I know it's bad, but I'm making it the foundation of who I am, and I'm getting better from it. Why don't you do that too, Knives? And I love that monologue so much. It's so good. It's so relevant. And Knives is like, oh, so you meant that the humans should just, he's like, don't turn away, Nye. It's so good. Freaking love this entire monologue. Just Vash's face there. I love it so much. I'm going to take so many screenshots. And so, yeah, and the two of them, him looking up at Knives and like the broken glass in between them and the light above them and the cycle of it all and the fact that it's like a gear, like they're both cogs in a machine. I'm like, I could just stare at it all day. And of course, Knives does not take the lesson that he's supposed to take from it all. He's like, oh, you're completely right, Vash. And he's like, the pain was unbearable. So I'm just going to make everybody suffer and that'll solve things. They'll learn and then we'll be even. And Vash is like, that is not at all what I meant. He's like, we're bringing everything back to even, Vash. And Vash is like, you're an idiot. Vash is like, you're just repeating the same mistakes you did earlier, you dumbass. Seriously. Poor Vash. But yeah. So then he's like, the end of the world of humans and the birth of paradise for our brethrens. And then he tells him to forget about Rim, which we all know that ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen at all. So meanwhile, we get back to Meryl and Millie, who have ran out of water. Millie is all about, draining some worms for some water. My mind was in the gutter for a hot second. I was like, girl, don't tell that to the wrong people. And then Meryl's like, I'm not into that at all. I'm going to get my mind out of the gutter. But anyway, so the worms, I am surprised that we didn't get more of Zazie in this episode, but it's fine. They're probably saving them for later. But yeah, just Millie with them damn worms. But yeah, so Meryl and Millie do get picked up by Brad and Jessica, which I know based on some of the comments from the last couple weeks, people are like, oh, Jessica, she's annoying. I don't find Jessica annoying. Do I think it's very obvious that they are putting Jessica into the story? Yes. It's very obvious that's what they're doing, but I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I think that Jessica, she's the young kid, she's like the kid audience that is centralized in this, and I think that that's fine. I like her and Brad being there. And plus, in all honesty, Brad, like, having her out with him is probably safer for her than her on the home ship if it were attacked by Knives and the others. So it's like an apples and oranges situation, but I don't mind it. It does feel kind of jarring at first because you're like, you forget that Wolfwood isn't with them, that Wolfwood is back on the ship with Vash, and it's like, what has he been doing? Well, he's been hanging out with the doctor, and we're going to get to that here in a hot second. But yeah, I do kind of like, we're going to talk about the whole ship thing and the home ship here in just a hot second, but this is adorable. This is adorable of Mid-Valley teaching the kids do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, like teaching the kids the music. There is something that's so wonderful about this concept that, and I need to restart the screenshot so you can all see this. Crunchyroll acted up a little bit hot second earlier, so I'm recording this a little bit later to pull back the Ozian curtain here in 3, 2, 1. Just the idea of Mid-Valley being rehabilitated and Emilio being rehabilitated and being able to get along with the home people, and that being because of Vash is so good. So good. Like, Mid-Valley as like a teacher to the kids, I think what helps in this is that with Mid-Valley and Emilio, something that they've set up in Stargaze that's kind of the same thing they did with Hoppard is they set up that all three of those characters, even though they were part of the Gung Ho gang, they were only doing what Legato and Knives told them to do because that's what they were being told to do. Now, was Mid-Valley part of a group that murdered on behalf of some kind of mafia-like organization? Probably, yes. Did Emilio, create a bunch of robots that could have done a lot of death and damage? Well, yes. But I do like that the story says, okay, yes, if people did something, going back to what Vash said to Knives, people have the opportunity to change if you give them the resources and the means to do so. It may not be perfect, it may be flawed, it may take multiple tries, but it is possible. And I think that what Vash told Knives, we have Mid-Valley and Emilio, aka Leonoff, instantly validating what Vash was saying. Because Mid-Valley didn't necessarily want to be a killer, he just didn't think there was any other opportunities for him to survive otherwise. And now he's getting the opportunity to do so. So he's teaching these kids music, which is absolutely adorable. He looks amazing. Look at how adorable he looks there with the pink and everything. Oh, it's so precious. Like, he just looks so cute there. And then you have Emilio, the puppet master. All Emilio wanted was for kids to play with him. Like, that's all he wanted was, as a child, for kids to play with him. And I talked about it in the episode with him in it. There is an aspect of Emilio that's like a little kid. Like a kid, sort of like Nicholas, that was forced to grow up. And so the idea of Nicholas, we're going to talk about him and Livio, but the idea of Leonoff getting the chance to be a kid again, even though now he's like an old man, it's kind of heartwarming. I kind of really found it to be pretty heartwarming. And, and the kids didn't like his puppets. And he's like, fine, then I'm not doing it. And they're like, no, we were joking. Like, that was actually really cute. I liked that a lot. So I thought this was really sweet. It was interesting. And it allows us, the audience, to see the investment that Mid-Valley and Emilio have with the home base. So then if Knives attacks, they have justification to fight alongside them. I thought it was sweet. I liked it. I thought it was well done. But yeah, so then we have the idea that we're getting the home base off the ground and they're going to stop the arc. So, okay, I'm not opposed to this at all. I like the idea of the home base, like, getting back up in the air. I mean, theoretically, they've been, stationed for 150 years. We'll talk about the manga and the spoiler corners a little bit later, but I kind of like this. I also like the idea of them fighting back against Knives and them in the air while the fleet comes in. That could lead to a lot of possibilities. That could be really interesting. I like the concept of it. Now, the one question I was mulling around, because I was thinking about, okay, what would people complain about? And so the one thing I could think about is, okay, why didn't Knives and the Ark immediately go after the home base? Why would they not immediately go after it and save it until it could get recharged and up in the sky? Because I'm sure that's going to be somebody's like argument of like, well, why'd they wait till they were last? I think a couple of reasons. One, I do think the doctor did not want to go to home base. He's like, well, let's just take a couple plants from here. Let's not take all of them. So the doctor didn't want to go there. So I'm sure he's been like volleying that they go anywhere else besides there. Knives is trying to get Vash onto his side, and home base is really close to Vash. So if Knives threatened it, then Vash would probably not go along with Knives or anything that he said. So that's kind of out. We can't do that. Then there's the idea that Knives, as Meryl and them, they took my talking points. As they point out, Knives is trying to corral, like cattle, all the people into Octavern. And so he was just he's so focused on that. He's like, home base, smone base, they're not going anywhere. I'll come back and get them last. Well, joke's on him. They're now moving and they're a stationary ship. So I think it's a combination of all those things. Also, in case if you haven't noticed, Knives has an ego, and Knives' ego is like, whatever happens, I'll be fine. And I'm like, ooh, will ya? Will ya, Nancy? So I think it's a combination of things, but it all kind of makes sense. I love this idea that they're getting it all loaded up. And of course, Mid-Valley would be all for this because Mid-Valley wants to leave. Mid-Valley wants a future somewhere where he thinks that there isn't any. So he would be welcome to this. And I love the sunshine on his face. I love that like symbolism. It's really, really good. So yeah, got the ship. The plant robberies are by invading the Ark. The surviving citizens have been migrating here to stay alive. So yeah. So the major city of Octavern is one that hasn't been attacked yet. Well, we're about to go into episode 8. Octo. Seems pretty good. Also, we had these photos that Millie took when they put up there. Let's see if we can get to those. She's like in its vicinity. She pulls up. Yeah, the selfies. The selfies were really funny. And she's like, oh no, not those. Don't show them. We've been goofing around while we've been doing our, very intensive investigation work. It's like, sorry. Also, I feel like these are characters from the manga that are we're doing like little cameo and Easter eggs with them. That seems to be the case. What does it say? Target on area previously, active G59. That's all we get. Okay, but yeah. So Octavern looks freaking cool. Love that. The entire population gathering in this like two-tiered, it looks like a plant on top of like millefeuille. Like a pastry, some French patisserie. It looks freaking badass. I think it's a really cool set piece for a final battle or a, semi-final battle. I think the home ship and the fleet and stuff versus the Ark is going to be the final thing. But yeah, I really like it. So why? And they basically determine Knives is gathering everybody into one convenient location where he can attack them all at once. So yeah, we have the Earth fleet heading towards us. They're still about a month out, so we're narrowing down. 4 weeks is going to go by real quick, but we're narrowing down until they arrive. Yep. So we don't know what Knives had planned, but the Ark is going to descend very soon. So we're going to rescue Vash and take down the Ark. Seems really simple. So then we have this discussion. Is killing Knives the right thing to do, even if it is to save the planet? Now, obviously, Millie says Vash would try to do both things. He would try to save Knives and save the planet. And what answers can you find from doing such things? So there is a question about what we need to do. And we've kind of made parallels between Meryl and Knives at the start of this series. So I'm curious to see where it goes to from here, what we get out of that, but I don't know. We're going to talk in the spoiler corner a little bit about it. And I like this note here, like, can we truly stand for sacrificing the few to save the many? At least she's like, Vash, she's like, quit saying what I'm thinking about Vash. And Millie's like, well, we've been together a year. I'm telepathic at this point. I love Millie so much. Even if there's no answer, Vash would protect everything. Okay, so can we talk about this? So, Wolfwood is in the doctor's office, looking at a map, has pulled up in front of him a holographic little TV screen where he's watching Vash get tortured by Legato. He's been watching Vash. No one else's mind was in the gutter. It was just me. It was just me thinking of Wolfwood alone watching like Vash on the screen. Just me. That's it. No, okay, great. I was like, Wolfwood, all by yourself, huh? Okay. He's just making sure his boyfriend's okay. Yeah, and then the moment the doctor comes in, he's just like, whoa. It's like a kid being caught on his laptop. I was like, what? Like, just immediately puts it away. He's like, oh, no, we're good. He's like, it's fine. So the doctor thinks that Wolfwood is looking for more stabilizers, and he's like, no, I don't rely on anyone. That's all. And so instead, he's like, I was not looking at Vash on the monitor. I was looking at the plant haul that y'all have been doing. And there's Vash's gun on the table. Your plant haul is going well. And he's like, indeed. What did he call it? The Genesis Flood Big Fall. You know, something corny like that. So basically we can see on here, okay, so we can see November, and I wish I could turn this around. And then we saw the fork one, December, July, September, August, May. Yeah, and then Octavern is like way over. We're not going to call it October. We're going to call it Octavern is over on that side. Okay. Yeah, Deliverance is way over on the other side away from Octavern. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, but that's the last place. They've gotten plants from everywhere except Octavern and like November. Those are like the only two places that don't have an X through them. Yeah. And so Wolfwood's like, look, Doc, you really gonna be going along with knives in this? And the doctor says, he's like, you know, you and Livio and the others were kind of my attempts to create a race of humans that could survive on this planet without the plants. That was my dream. He's like, but I don't think that that's gonna happen before Knives is done with all of us. He's like, you could have stayed young if it wasn't for me. And Wolfwood, I think Wolfwood, what's interesting about this scene is based on his feelings that he harbored towards the doctor back in Stampede. I think Wolfwood's kind of at that point, thanks to Vash's influence, where he's like, at this point, it has to be water under the bridge because we have bigger fish to worry about than what happened back then. He says this is our last chance. And so the doctor lays out that he's like, you know, what happens if Knives destroys all of humanity? Surely some of humanity will probably survive and they'll evolve to adapt to the plants. He's like, you know, that's what this is all about. And Wolfwood's kind of like, yeah, but Knives is going to get rid of all of the humans, so there won't be anybody left over to evolve. He's like, I think you're getting too optimistic about this. The great calamity that Knives causes, if even a handful of humans survive it, then perhaps a new breed of humanity can coexist with the Independents. Maybe that will arise. I'm like, these aren't Saiyans, sir. This is humans. And I'm like, you can't speed up evolution like this. Like, no, Knives is just going to wipe you all out. He's basically going to go for a genocide. Like, you can't, no. He's like, I'll probably never see it. Then he did the death cough where he was like, I was like, he's got the black lung. I'm like, sir, so many death flags on the doctor. So many death flags on the doctor. I don't see him making it through this series. I really don't. And Wolfwood's like, yeah. He's like, you're just like all the rest of them. You are off your rocker. And that's pretty much the motif of this entire episode. He's like, don't you know? He's like, everybody in this world is crazy. And I love that because that is Trigun, like, down to its core. Like, there's all these moral ramifications and philosophical discussions with, like, the trolley problem and all that. But at its core, Trigun is a crazy space western, and with some sci-fi elements mixed in, and which the sci-fi kind of takes the forefront this season. But everybody's crazy. Everybody's kooky in this. And that's kind of it feels very Night Owl because of it. Maybe that was the doctor giving, like, a hint that Livio was around. me included, and naturally you as well. He's like, you're crazy for being in love with a space alien. He's like, you're in love with a space plant, Wolfwood. You're just as wild as we are. So, speaking of space plants, I don't know if y'all noticed, but there's a hell of a lot of dead plants in this arc. Like, all of them. All of them are dead. And can we talk about Knives and his singing? And his singing, Sato's singing as he came up the stairs for this. It was like an eargasm. It was, like voices and singing. I was like, hello, can you please sing louder and for the rest of the series? Didn't know he had it in him. I was like, all right, let's go. But yeah, him just singing and just getting up there with his plants. So Knives reveals his Delulu crazy in this part here because he's like, this moment draws near. He's like, I was too hasty back then, but I won't make the same mistake again. I'll rescue every last one of our brethren from the immigrant fleet. We're going to talk about this in the spoiler corner. I really like this. I like this. He's like, I'm not afraid. This is rage, he said calmly. Yeah. Which he didn't say it quite calmly. He kind of shouted it out. He's like, they act with no control based on individual whims. And I'm like, they care not for others. And by that nature, they've abused us and they are trying to devour us. I'm like, pot calling the kettle black. I was like, ooh, Knives, you are speaking about yourself quite a bit in these statements, sir. And so he asked the plants to lend him strength. He wants strength, more strength. We're getting greedy. So he tells the doctor, the next grafting, I want to take 20. Keep in mind, he's back. Like, they used Vash to bring him back. He doesn't need to graft any more plants. He doesn't need to. He is perfectly fine. He's perfectly fine. And so then when they have, all the plants there, the doctor's like, this will take a while. And he's like, I don't care. Do it. And he's like, this is for my brethren. I'm like, is it? And I love the way they animate Alindra in this as he's connecting and like sucking up all the plants. Alindra's like, wait a minute. Alindra's like, hold the phone. This seems a bit suspicious because he's sucking all the plants dry and leaving nothing. I love the way they animated her. Her eyes look so huge. And usually Alindra has this like mischievousness to her. And here, no. The mischievousness is gone. And she's like, wait. She's like, hey. She's like, Lord Knives is always talking about his brethren this and his brethren that. But yeah, I'm like, that's a look of realization of like, oh, you mean that the guy we brought back to save the plants is instead absorbing them all for his own personal revenge? Yeah, that's a face of realization right there. And she's like, oh, never mind. Meanwhile, like, girl, meanwhile, I love Vash versus Legato in this. This is so good. Legato is getting a little bit tired. He's been keeping a hold of him for so long. And the moment he has a second of slip up, Wolfwood sinks in. The blue-haired freak has his limits, eh? And of course, I was like, Wolfwood, do not monologue. I was like, don't monologue at a time like this. And Legato's like, that one-liner will cost you your life. I was like, but here's the thing. Then you're like, well, shit, Wolfwood shouldn't have monologued. What was he doing? And then he goes, actually, you can't keep your focus on two people at the same time, can you? And, Vash getting through the glass. Oh my God. Yes. And I'm gonna kick my feet. Legato is just so floored. And then damn, Wolfwood like just shot him in the back. Wolfwood was like, nope. Wolfwood just got him and was gonna take care of him. I'm like, he's been pretty he's been riddled with bullets and he's gonna finish him off. And then of course Vash is like, don't do it, Wolfwood. He's like, don't do that. I know you've mortally wounded him, but don't deal him the finishing blow, Wolfwood. And I'm like, Vash. Of course. I don't know. Do I think Legato is dead? No, because he probably has the healing juices that's on stock, but damn. Instead, he gets Vash's out there saying, ever the softie. And then, just as we're about to escape, just as we're about to get out of here, who shows up? It's freaking Livio. But no, it's not Livio and Wolfwood. And now the beginning with Wolfwood all comes full circle with Livio. And Vash is like, oh yeah, he was from the Sand Steamer. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And then his mask messed up. And he's like, I'm the backup. Oh, I love the way they animate him in this. And he's like, come on, Livio. And he's like, no, I've been told Livio the Double Fang is dead. Oh man. Killed by you, Nicholas the Punisher. Oh, I love it. So he's like, you're Livio. What are you talking about? And then he's like, you're talking nonsense. The way they animated his face with his eyes is so freaking good. Yes. And then he takes off the mask. The mask falls. And the hair coming out. Oh, the hair coming out and standing up. And Wolfwood's like, oh shit. He's like, who are you? I love the green coming out of the Punishers. Yes. And it's just dark enough you can't quite see it yet, but... And Vash is like, who be this? He's like, everyone's out of their damn mind. Yes, you are correct, sir. Razlo. Oh, I can't believe we're getting Razlo in this. Oh, damn. Razlo. Razlo, the Tri-Punisher of Death. You know, like a Trigun. Oh, I want to go back and see that face. A face only a mother could love. I want to see it. Yes. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. I love the hair coming up. Yes. Tins across the board. Tins across the board. That was such a good way to end the episode. I want to talk spoilers, but this episode was fantastic. This episode is my favorite of the season so far. So good. Such good dialogue with Knives and Vash. It's like the levity in it. It was kind of piecemeal, but the parts that were good were so very, very, very good. I'm like, just the stuff with Vash and Legato, freaking love it. Freaking love it. Doing things efficiently. So we're going to talk about it. I want to talk about it a little bit more in the spoiler corner. If you are not sticking around for that, please know that I'm so happy you're watching with me. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and leave me a comment down below to let me know what you thought about the episode, about the reaction, and about the discussion, right? So if you're not sticking around for spoilers, then I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all next week with 8's my lucky number of Trigun Stargaze. Okay, so let's talk about spoilers. I have on the shelf over there, you can't see it, it's off the shelf, but the Trigun Maximum. I'm curious what we're going to be getting out of this, because the confetti coming out of the buildings and around Nicholas, all I could think of with the confetti was when the foster mom is like, this is your home, you can come back anytime. All I could think about was in Maximum, Wolfwood dies, Livio kills him, and he dies. And he has there's the couch that him and Vash sit on. There's the confetti that come out, like signaling that he's going home. And I was like, when I saw the confetti coming out, I was like, oh, is this giving vibes of Wolfwood dying? Here's the thing. I don't think Stargaze has the guts to kill Wolfwood off. I don't think they do. I don't think they're going to kill Wolfwood off. I don't think they are. I mean, that death is iconic in Maximum. And it's iconic in the 98 anime. I don't think they'll kill him off in Stargaze. I don't think they will. If they do kill him off, then in Maximum, Livio sticks around and helps Vash take care of Alindra and Legato and Knives. So I don't know if they're going to do that, but I mean, they said the next episode was Goodbye, My Friend. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a fake out title or... I'm not ready. If Wolfwood dies on episode 8, which is like my lucky number, I'm gonna be so mad. But I just can't see the series killing Wolfwood. I can't see it killing him. I just can't. So I don't know. But the confetti, I don't know if they just did this as a reference for us to let us like harken back to Trimax. Also, why is the Digidestined on here? But yeah. I just don't know. I don't feel like they're going to kill Wolfwood, but this is hearkening back to that. So what can we do? Again, I do like the idea of Meryl and Millie being the journalists. I like that a lot. I like that they're getting more involved. In Maximum, they got involved, but they would disappear for little bursts to do things like this. But I like the home base being functional. I don't remember if it was like that in Maximum, if the home base actually like was up in the air flying again. Maybe it was. But I like the idea of everybody getting involved to fight back against Knives, because in Maximum, it kind of became the fleet from space and Vash versus Knives in the Ark. And the people on Earth were just kind of like, I don't know what else we're going to do. And I mean, there was other things that were happening, but it really was the space fleet versus Knives, and then Vash working his way up to get to Knives. So I do like, in that sense, that we have organically Wolfwood and Vash working together against Livio here, and that Alinder is already up there, the Doctor's up there. I like the setup organically that Stargaze is giving us, versus in Maximum, it was good, but I like how this is set up as well. But yeah, so Zazzy's role, I'm very curious to see what Zazzy's going to do in all of this. Look, Legato is living up to his Maximum role. I really like Legato in this. His voice actors had a little bit of fun with him, and him and Knives, they're such a great duo in this. I freaking love Legato. He's such a disaster, but I really liked him in this. This entire scene, God, it's so good. That's been one of my things, is that one of the things I think Trigun struggles with is, at the end of the day, what do we do with Knives? Because in the 98 anime ends so comically with what happens with Vash is just like, I'm going to make you have exposure therapy to humans. It's literally a 98 anime. He's like, you're going to get exposure therapy to humans, Knives, and it's going to make you a nicer person. Like, that's literally the 98 anime's solution. And then Maximum is just like a bloodbath and this freaky angel gore back and forth until both of them kind of like reach this breaking point that it takes a while to get through it. So I don't know how Trigun Stargaze is going to handle the subject of Knives, because he's so antagonistic. But I think that the way they do this episode is a good step towards a resolution. At least it shows this version of Knives listening to Vash. He may not agree with him or be going along with anything he says, but he still listens. So there is a little bit of reciprocation and communication there, kind of. So there's at least that. That's good to see. But yeah, we're going to talk about the dead plants and all that. But yeah, this version of Vash is probably my favorite in terms of arguing with Knives. Because the 98 anime, Vash avoids Knives for so long, and then he finally has the pep talk with him, but Knives is like not receptive at all. He's like, I'm not listening, and like he makes Vash like transform his arm and do all this stuff like that. And then you have in Trigun Maximum, it takes Vash forever to get to Knives because everybody else is trying to kill him over and over again. And here, I love that this Vash gets to talk to Knives, holds him accountable, and tries to like tell him what's up. Like, good for him. Good for this Vash. I love this Vash and the conversation he has with Knives. It's great. And some of the ways that he does the stare back at him, oh, damn, is it good. Damn, is it good. Like, the way that he looks at him, like, oh, it's so freaking good. Love it a lot. And then the symbolism of the cracked glass and all that, just so freaking good. So yeah, going back to the ship and everything, we've talked about that with Emilio and Mid-Valley. I am curious what we're going to get with them. I like the rehabilitation that they're getting in this. That's really good. That'll work out great. Don't know where we're going with that. I'm going to be curious to see, like with Octavern, what we do with that. Because there were some things in Maximum where it was like the last strong fort of human civilization while the fleet was arriving that tried to cause some shenanigans. I don't know if that's going to happen in this, but I guess we're going to find out. And of course my dog's like going crazy. I definitely think these guys are like a side story in Maximum that we just try to, hey, what are you guys doing? To do as Easter eggs, which was pretty fun. So yeah, and then Wolfwood watching Vash on this screen is so good. But look. I am very curious about the Livio and Razlo scenario and how that's going to go down. I'm so glad that they have Razlo in Stargaze. That's great. We're going to get to that. But probably the most interesting, like, spoiler corner thing I want to talk about is Knives just crashing out. Crashing out, but in the most delusional way possible. Because I was waiting for this, because in Maximum, he basically is doing what he's doing now. He's like, oh, I want to create a paradise for the plants. The reality is he wants to create a paradise for him and Vash. The plants are just like, oh yeah, and they're there too. But he's like, I didn't say the state that they'd be in. And it's like, what? So in Trigun Maximum, Knives gets so obsessed with wanting to destroy humanity to create this paradise for him and his brother that he starts absorbing all of the plants into himself. He's like, well, if I'm the only one that can do it, then the plants should give their power to me and I'll save us all. And it's like, it's this warped and twisted, like, savior narrative that is done really well. And I think that Stargaze is doing it very right too. Whereas Knives has gotten to the point where he's like, I need to make the humans pay and I need the plants to give me their strength and then I can save them. But as Lindira is correctly realizing, she's like, hey. She's like, Knives isn't actually saving the plants. He's killing all of them and absorbing them into himself. So this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Now, what's going to be interesting is to see, I feel like the character they can do the most different from Trigun Maximum is probably Alindira. Because in Maximum, Alindira was working for Knives. She kind of went along with everything, and she tried to help Knives. She ended up battling Wolfwood and Livio and all that, but she never really directly... I mean, to an extent, she challenged Knives, but she was mainly like something that was tied to Wolfwood and Livio. And I don't see that in this series. I don't see her tied to fighting Wolfwood or Livio in this. I'm hoping she has like something to do with Knives, and we'll see where that goes. But I feel like she might have some new things to do in this series, and that's really exciting. But yeah, so then, damn, I can't believe that Wolfwood actually got some shots in on Legato. That was crazy. Also, just Legato, he looks so slimy. Someone noted, like, is he going to get in his sarcophagus? He's been shot in the back. They might put him in the sarcophagus. They might have reason to do that now, because he did get shot in the back by Wolfwood. So maybe there's reason for him to be in the sarcophagus now. I mean, if you're going to make things crazy, let's make things crazy. So, I don't know. It'd just be so funny to see him hovering around the little sarcophagus. It would be a lot, but it would be kind of funny. Damn. Also, shirtless Vash in this episode, giving us dingy realness. I'm all for it. I liked it. It was a good time. But yeah. And then Livio being Razlo at the end. That reveal is so freaking good. And Razlo's crazy. Razlo is the crazy side of him. Now, I will say this. We don't have... Trigun Maximum builds up Razlo's backstory so well in connecting it to Livio. It's so good. If you want to see it done the perfect way, go read Maximum. And I've got the reactions on my channel, so shameless plug. But... I like it because I know Razlo's story, so this feels like an Easter egg to me. If I were watching this for the first time and I had no clue who Razlo was, I would be like, who the hell is this? What? Livio, Razlo, what's going on? So I feel like Stargaze, I do feel like at times Stargaze is dependent upon you having at least read some of Maximum or watched some of the 98 anime for all of this to really get the full effect. I think if you watched it as a standalone, you might be like, I don't know who these people are. What's going on? So there is that, but I have read Maximum and I have watched the 98 anime. So this is all fine to me. I know the backstory. I don't need to hear it again. I'm sure we're going to hear parts of it next week. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, God, I love it. And his design, the way that they have him look, it looks so freaking good, y'all. So freaking good. I love it so much. Great. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then we have the concept art, and it looks pretty good. There's like the table where they're doing experiments, and we see the doctor, we see Livio, we see Razlo. All sorts of fun stuff saying I'm home. Why are there all okay? I guess this was part of Maximum because I remember this from Maximum. It was like, why? There were the sexy like Punisher troops with the crosses, and I was like, what is this from the orphanage? Wild Times. I don't like that title. Goodbye, my friend. I don't like that at all. Nope, get that away from here. Get it away from here. So I'm super excited to see what we're gonna get next week for episode 8, but oh, buddy. Like I said, I would love to hear your comments down below, y'all. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. I'm going to just soak in Shirtless Vash for the rest of the week and wait till we get to episode 8 of TRIGUN STARGAZE. And I'll see you all then. Bye.